Yeah, old school. That's what I'm talking about. Listen, this ain't for everybody. Some of y'all need to hear this. I know you're in the trenches fighting, but check it out. I'm gonna put it down like this so I can help the saints understand. Everything you're going through is all part of the master plan. Or what? You thought cause you got saved everything was gonna be peaches and cream? You better wake up, son. Don't nothing come to a sleeper but a dream. Faith without works is dead. Read your Bible, you know what it said. He who don't work don't eat. Slackers don't get fed. Yeah, Jesus said he who puts his hands to the plow looks back the same ain't fit. Some of y'all ain't been in the trenches 5 minutes and you about ready to quit. I ain't mad at ya, I'm just hitting you with the real. If you died for me and I was still tripping, now how you think that make you feel? Check this out, deep game, this here's deep. Some of y'all ain't sawing nothing but you started trying to reach. But unto him who is able to possess your fathers by his glory. Struggles might be part of your testimony, but it ain't the end of the story. Now the point is this was prophesied way back in the day. Choir, sing your hook right here and see if the church can relate.
I know we can make it. I know good and well. God can work it out. Work it out. Work it out. Yeah, he'll work it out. I know we can make it. We can make it. I know good and well. God can work it out. Yes, he can. Yes, he can. Yes, he can. Yeah.
Thinking not strange, the fiery trials are to try you. You say, why you? But your church say, what would Jesus do? Why you asking if he ain't trying to do what he's saying? He told you he was going to have tribulations, but you thought he was playing. 1 minute you're telling how good God is and can't nobody beat your talk. The next minute you're backsliding so fast, look like you're moonwalking. Oh yeah, I'm preaching to myself because I ain't no better. It ain't like I've been following his every word, obeying it to the letter. So we soldiers, we got to remember that. Regroup, stay on point. Yeah, bow down, confess, repent, stay humble, let him anoint. It ain't easy as I thought it was. I'd be lying if I told you that. But it showed up getting better all the time. Trust me, that's a fact. Ain't nothing we going through that can't be handled. God put that on his son. Like they say, you can shout now if you want to, cause the battle's already won. So while you're going through the valley, don't even trip. You're gonna be on top. Choir, sing the hook line one more again. This time you don't stop.
I know we can make it. We can make it. I know good and well. God can work it out. Yes, he can. Yes, he can. He'll work it out. We can make it. I know we can make it. I know good and well. Oh, yeah. Yes, he can. If you let him, I know good and well. He can work it out. 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 Oh, he'll work it out. Oh, I know we can make it. We can make it. God can work it out.
Welcome, everyone. We're going to pump the brakes right there. I just want to give a minute or two to the big boy upstairs. And I know some of my listeners are cringing right now because I refer to him as Big Boy, but I can call my God that if I like. You may call him I don't know. He goes by a number of names, whatever your religion may be, but we're talking about the Most High, all in all. Welcome to the show. This is Lamont Patterson, and you are listening to Can a Player Play? I hope wherever you are, wherever you may be, you're somewhere being safe. And like my man was just saying a minute ago, I know we're going to be able to make it. There's a whole bunch of crazy, crazy stuff going on in the world today, all over the world. Just be safe. I know you could be somewhere else, but instead of at home listening to our show, but we're glad you can join us today, but you need to be here anyway, because that way we know you're being safe. Anyway, we have a great show lined up for you today. Mr. Gene Garino is going to be joining us, and we're going to be speaking on residential assisted living care homes. And we know we got a bunch of questions for our guest today. He's also a talk show host, investor, and of course he invests in residential assisted living homes, blah, 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 my name. I don't know why I'm getting tongue-tied. But he's also an author. He has several books he's written, How to Start Your Own Residential Assisted Living Business, The Insider's Guide to Investing in Senior Citizen Housing, and Blueprint. And with that being said, let me see. Is our guest with us? Are you in the building, sir?
I am, Lamont. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, thanks for taking time out to join us. Definitely appreciate you. I know you're a busy man.
Hey, Sundays, there's only one thing to do. Go to church and then relax. So.
Okay, well, great. Well, at least we're on the same page. And again, I definitely want to thank you for joining us, because I know you could be doing something else, but we definitely appreciate you. And I know you have a wealth of information to share with our listeners.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
Yeah, with that being said, Gene, I'll just let you have the platform a little bit before we get into the questions. And, you can tell our listeners a little bit about, well, let me see. I always like to start at the beginning, who you are, and then we can get to how you're doing, what you're doing, and everything that you got going on today, if you don't mind.
You got it. Well, I'm originally from upstate New York. I was. I'll take you on the way back and take a tour here. But I originally was a professional musician as a teenager, and we had a music school, recording studio, small record label. We were renting a building for 2 years, and I remember at the end of those 2 years, I was 18 years old, and I said, "That's it. This building is terrible. The landlord's worse. So we're either going to shut it down or we're going to move someplace else." Looked up the street and saw a for sale sign, and that was the beginning of our real estate investing career. So the first property we ever bought was no money down. We used it to live in and also to run our business out of. Then we did fix and flips and buy and holds. First commercial was the age of 25, and been doing it for decades. But about 10 years ago, my mom started to need help beyond what we could provide for ourselves or felt capable of doing. So I had heard about assisted living in a residential setting decades earlier, but it wasn't until my mom needed help that it became real. And when we started to look for what was out there, where we could put Mom, it was pretty scary. And I said, that's it. And I vowed to create a solution, an actual home that my mom could move into. I'd be proud to have her there. We could have other seniors. And that's rolled into this whole model that's going across the country. I didn't start it, but we're a big proponent of keeping it going and moving it on. So we've been training people for the last 7 years how to do what we do to turn single-family homes into assisted living homes. And our goal is to help 10 million seniors and their families, because when you help my mom, you're helping me too. So to positively impact 10 million people through our efforts in our company by serving the people that come to learn about assisted living.
Wow. I'm glad to hear you say that, because I was reading some of the stuff, and then, of course, my thought, and I was telling another friend of mine this morning about this movie. I think it's called I Do Care a Lot. I don't know if you've seen that, but it's on Amazon Prime. But it's involving people dealing with assisted living homes, but they're not giving a positive spin to it. You know what I mean? So when I was reading your stuff, I'm like, okay. But I'm glad to hear you say that you definitely take care of the people that's within the homes, and that's important to you. So with that being said, let me ask you this. What is the difference between assisted living and a regular nursing home or a senior citizen facility? 'Cause I don't really know the difference either.
And to kind of give you a picture of that, when I say assisted living and seniors, most people think of a nursing home. So this big, huge converted hospital where there's green walls and linoleum floors, and you walk through the front door and you smell neglect, right? So that's not what we do. Or you think about like the show from the 80s, The Golden Girls, 4 older women living together, taking care of each other. So that's not quite what we do either, but it's right in between. So it is a residential home, and there are caregivers, but they're not nurses and doctors. It's not a hospital. It's not a medical facility. It's a home where there's caregivers taking care of what's called their activities of daily living, which is pretty much everything you did today after you hit the snooze alarm, right? So bathing, drinking, eating, medication management, housekeeping, all those things that a senior who doesn't need a nursing home, doesn't need that full-time medical care, but just can't stay at home by themselves. So the home is 24-hour care. We do it in a residential setting instead of these large complexes that are 200 beds and you can get lost on your way to the dining hall. We do it in a home setting. There might be 6 or 10 or 15 seniors in that home. We do it in a nice, comfortable setting. So think of a place you'd be proud to have your mom there, and then train caregivers to take care of them while they are there.
Sound like not such a bad place to be.
Not at all.
And I'd imagine you definitely need more. Yeah, you definitely need more of those across the country. I'm sorry, because that leads me back to the next one. Why are you doing this? But I think you mentioned briefly it was because of your mom.
Yeah. it is a real estate opportunity and a business opportunity, but it's a way to take care of other people and help solve a problem. So for me, my journey started with my mom needing that help, but I also realized this is a good play for business and real estate as well. So it's really that three-legged stool with all three.
So do you find out there are a lot of people that are interested in getting into these facilities?
Well, absolutely.
From your end, from the business perspective.
Yeah. I mean, we have literally trained thousands of people over the last 7 years how to do it. Most of them come from either a real estate investment thought or mindset or a business mindset or a care mindset. So either there's a play on either one, but there's doctors right now that are doing their thing that wish they could really take care of people instead of being in the medical system. So they may start a home and have somebody else operate it or be the manager and the caregiver. We have other people that are real estate investors saying, I don't want to just flip another house and make another dollar, but I really want to do something significant. And then we have business people who are saying, wow, I could set up one of these homes and make $10,000 a month in profit, plus take care of other people. So we call that doing good and doing well.
I like that, doing good and doing well. So this is something let me ask you this. Normally, what type of investment would it take to get something like this started?
The biggest part of the investment is the real estate, so the location. So if you rented the home, it's the cost of renting a home. So there's typically a first month's rent, a security deposit, et cetera. If you buy an existing home and then convert it, that's another one. And then if you buy an existing one of these businesses, that's another. So it's hard to say how much, but we teach people how to do it with or without their own money. That's the thing that I think a lot of people don't realize is there's a lot of people that have money that are looking for something to do with that money, to invest it. And when you can give them something good to invest in, a reason why they can loan money to you or invest in your project where they're going to get a good return on their money but also have impact, helping other people, that's something that people really want to be a part of.
Oh, okay. I noticed that you speak in 50 different cities. Or do those in those cities, the people that you speak to, are they normally the people that you mentioned, the ones that are in real estate, or do you help them through your training pick out the different properties or the better properties?
Right. So when we were traveling around the country, I would be presenting to mostly real estate investors and business people about the opportunities in assisted living. Now, obviously, most of the conversations are done online, so online webinars and presentations, podcasts, etc. But most of those people come from either the business side, including the real estate, or the care side. So there's a lot of people out there that really do want to take care of, they may have a situation in their own family. They're taking care of their own mom and dad, and they're saying, wow, I can't handle this, or I'm not designed, God didn't make me to be a caregiver, but they're still going to take care of them. They could open up one of these homes and have their parent move in and live for free and be having 8 or 10 other people who are paying for everything. And that's another thing that I teach people how to do. You're doing this not just for you right now, but the future. If and when you need help, or if and when your mom or dad needs help, they can move into the master bedroom and live for free.
Right. Well, Gene, hold on one second. I think we got a caller want to ask the question or something.
Sure.
513, you're on. You're on.
Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Yes.
My question is, this type of home, can you fit it into any neighborhood, or is it considered like a group home if you have several people living in it?
That's a great question. Every city and state's going to treat it a little bit different. In general, it would be considered a group home. And as soon as you said that and I said that, everybody's thinking of, well, that's a sober home or addiction home or something like that, kind of a negative consequence, even though there's huge need there too, and we could talk about that. But when it comes to the seniors and when it comes to the Fair Housing Act, which is a federal law from way back in the 70s, seniors are protected as a class. So the elderly and the disabled are two classes, and a senior that needs assisted living is considered disabled as well as elderly. So all that to say, you can do it right in the middle of a neighborhood, even with a homeowners association, but you need to know how to go through that process. So we do show people how to do that, where to do that, and where not to do it, which is just as important.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, thanks for calling. Do you have any other questions, or was that your...
No, that was the major one. I used to live next door to a group home, so I was wondering what this was considered as.
Yeah. What kind of group home was that?
I'm not really sure exactly what they called it, but most of the people in there had Down syndrome.
Oh, special needs.
And they were adults, yes.
Right. There's such a huge,
it was a group of about 10 or 11.
Yeah. See, in a home like that, Lamont, we actually teach people how to do that. And shared housing is what we call it. So we do residential assisted living for the elderly, and then shared housing is for all the other ones. And imagine somebody who's got a child who has autism or some type of a disability. They're going to outlive that parent 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, and those parents are really in a bad spot because they need a home for their kids who are going to grow up to be adults and then outlive them. And that's a huge need as well as an opportunity. So we teach people how to do that as well.
It was interesting.
Yeah. There's a lot of ways to help people, and I think anytime you find a challenge in life or a problem, as some people call it, I always say, okay, there's a problem, there's a challenge, what's the opportunity, how can we help? And then from a business side, how can we help and then monetize that? Because it's not just a charity. We need to make enough money to pay the caregivers well and have great homes and great food and great everything and make a profit. So that's kind of the motive behind it, the care and the profit, doing good and doing well.
It sounds real interesting. I'm really happy that you're doing that kind of thing. It's very much needed.
Oh. Thank you. Well, I'd love to give you a copy of our book, so I'm sure Lamont will let us share how to do that a little bit later.
All right. Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
You got it.
Thank you for the call.
Mm-hmm.
So, Gene, I have a question here. I guess it's a twofold question. How much money can be made doing an assisted living care home, and does that depend on the size of the home?
A lot, and yes. So let me dig in. When I say a lot, yeah, the average person in America today, according to Genworth, which is a long-term care insurance company, the average senior who's in assisted living today across the country is paying $4,300 per month per person. So I know that sounds like a lot, but in some areas it's twice that. And we can get into the question of where do they come up with the money, et cetera, but that includes everything from Medicare and Medicaid all the way up to private pay to long-term care insurance. But if you had a home and it's licensed for 10, and that makes easy math, $4,300 per person times 10 is $43,000 in gross income per month. Your expenses are going to be 70 or 80% of that. So really what I'm looking for from a business model is 20% or more of the top line. So that $43,000 a month, 20%, 30% of that turning into profit at the end with all the expenses. So $8,000, $10,000, $12,000 a month from that single family home is the end result after all expenses to operate that residential assisted living business. So it's quite lucrative.
So these residential assisted living homes, are these people expected to have a single occupancy in a room, or are they double, or how is that handled?
Most states allow you to have two people in a room, so that'd be semi-private. Some states even allow you to have more. We encourage people to do two people at the most, and then as many private rooms as possible. The reality is when you bring your mom to a place, you want the best for her. You want a private room and a private bathroom and all of that. So if we have a home in a normal neighborhood, probably doesn't have 10 bedrooms, but we can convert some of the space into bedrooms or make a big bedroom into two smaller rooms. So two people in a room, but one person is preferable.
Got it. 'Cause I was worried about that when you mentioned 10 people. I'm like, well, that would either be five bedrooms or a 10-room home.
Yeah. And, the reality is most states, the rules are fairly minimum in regards to the requirements. So if I were to go through the math with you, it might be an 1,800 square foot home, according to the state, would be big enough for 10 seniors. Our rule of thumb at the REL Academy is 300 square feet per person of living space. So that doesn't mean their bedroom is 20 by 30, which would be quite large. It's not that. It's that you have, let's say, a 3,000 square foot home. It'd be very comfortable for 10 seniors, 12 seniors. But the rules in the states allow you to have a 1,500 square foot home, 1,800 square foot home, and they're packed and it's tight and it's not very comfortable. And that's not what I encourage people to do. You can do that. There are 1,000 homes just like that all over the country, but that's not what we teach as a model.
Okay. Oh, this is a good one. How can you get twice the fair market rent with long-term, low-impact tenants?
There you go. When you asked a great question of how much does it cost, and I kind of gave you a depends kind of an answer. If you lease the house from somebody, then your cost of getting into the real estate is easier. You don't have to worry about a down payment and so on. But there's a lot of people who own houses now, and they lease that to somebody else, so it's a rental property. An average family is only going to be able to pay just so much. But if I'm going to be operating that residential assisted living business out of that house, I'm willing to pay more because we've got a lot of cash flow. So when I say twice the market rent, if you are leasing that house to an operator of the residential assisted living business, you could charge anything you want. And they're making enough cash flow that twice the market rent is reasonable to them. They're also going to want a 5-year lease. They want a long-term lease. And you could also have them take care of the maintenance. So you can have very little or no maintenance. You can have a long-term tenant, which means there's no vacancy and hassle. They're going to take care of the house because they're running their business out of there, and they want it to be nice for the family and the residents there. And if they're willing to pay more, I'd accept it.
Yeah, me too, especially if they're going to take care of the maintenance and everything else. That's no harm, no foul. Especially making money.
Most people don't realize that. Yeah.
Yeah, you were mentioning earlier today, different cities, different states have different rules and regulations.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so every state's going to be a little bit different. For instance, I'm in Arizona, so in our state, they limit us to 10 people, 10 seniors in that house. And by the way, as soon as I say that, I know somebody is listening saying, but my city says you can only have 4 unrelated adults in a house. And those kind of rules and regulations are designed to keep a house from being turned into a fraternity or a sorority near a college with a bunch of people living in there. But when we talk about seniors, because of the protected class that they're in with the Federal Fair Housing Act, most states have a limit. Arizona is 10. Texas is 16. California, most people think it's limited to 6. But actually, if you were to do some things to the house, like sprinklers and fire suppression, you could have more than that. But there's about 20 states that have no limit to the number of people. That'd be reasonable. Has to be big enough and safe enough. But you're doing it in a residential setting. So just like the woman who called in, you could be right next to one and you wouldn't even know it unless you walked over and said hello or met somebody there.
Yeah, it does seem like a great opportunity. Gene, we kind of like jumped over the place. I kind of mentioned briefly about you being an author as well as an investor. So speak a little bit about your books and stuff.
Yeah. Early on I wrote books about teaching kids about finance, but that was before electronic print and, all the other things to deliver books. But the books that we have on residential assisted living, we have The Insider's Guide to Investing In. So if somebody's interested in investing in senior housing, we wrote a book that's available on Amazon for that. The Insider's Guide to Investing on Senior Housing. But the one that I'd be happy to give all of your listeners, I'll give them a website, they can download it for free, is called How to Start Your Own Residential Assisted Living Business. It's Blueprint. So the blueprint for doing it. and it kind of walks through the story of how I got started and what it takes and the real estate part, the business part, and getting the right team and putting it all together.
That sounds like they pretty much everything they need to know except for how to go out and do it themselves. I mean, but you're giving them all the information, so they really shouldn't have any excuse if that's an interest.
Nah. Well, I'm sure you've had lots of guests on and sharing things, so I want to make sure it's really clear. This is simple, but it's not easy. And I want to be very clear about that because, you know, you said right up front, you had mentioned I think it's a Netflix movie that's out right now, and it gives a bad light to this. And if somebody is thinking, oh, I'm just going to get a house, fill it with seniors, get a babysitter, and walk away, no, don't get in the business, right? This is for people that truly want to help and provide a great place and great care, and you're going to make great money too. But I wanted to make sure that it's the right people, the right motivation before they get in. I want to encourage you to have all the training you can possibly get, and that's what we provide as well. Because doing it in the right location is one of the biggest mistakes that people make, is picking the wrong location. They get a big house and it's inexpensive, but it's in the wrong area. That would not be a mistake I'd want anybody to do. So.
Well, I love the fact that you said that, because you got to have the right heart. Assure you we can go out and all about the money, and like a lot of people are in today's society, you know, they worry about eating, but nobody said you can't do good and do the right thing and then eat as well. So I'm definitely glad to hear you say that. It definitely gives a positive light to it. And that's important, because I think if you do the right thing anyway, you're going to be successful at everything that you do, regardless. So helping,
amen to that.
Yeah, helping seniors and stuff. You know, it's a lot of seniors out there, and people need assistance that just don't, you know, have family. And a lot of them that do have family, you know, the family could care less about them pretty much. So, they definitely need places that actually are going to be a serious support mechanism. So,
you know, I think a lot of people when they think about seniors, they do think of them as kind of, well, your life is towards the end, et cetera. And one of the things I find fascinating, Lamont, is literally sitting and talking to a senior where I can hear about their lives and where they've been, what they've done. And sometimes I get a chance to hear stories and learn things that even their kids or grandkids don't know. So it's the rewarding part of the business as well.
I definitely agree with that, because I always like to take times and talk to seniors, because they got so much knowledge, man. They've done a lot of things, and they did it at a time where we weren't there, you know. So it's almost like in a history lesson, you know. I definitely enjoy that. I get that from my fishing buddies, because I usually go deep sea fishing with a lot of older gentlemen. And I'm always amazed to hear some of their stories about, you know, what they did and how they did it and how they become the person that they are today, you know.
Yeah, me too.
Definitely.
I enjoy that. I don't go fishing a whole lot, but I enjoy the stories.
Well, it's not a lot of water in Arizona, is it?
That's true. That is very true.
Not a lot of water there. So Gene, in your course, your class, your training, how long a process is that?
We do an immersion class. So we have a 3-day class where we teach you pretty much everything you need to know. And the reason why we do that, Lamont, is I was never a really good student. So the idea of spending 4 years to learn something never appealed to me. Even 6 months is like, come on, just give me the meat, the nuts and bolts. So we really do an immersion class where they learn, they get to touch and feel and see and understand in 3 short days. And I think what's great about that, too, is you may get to the end of the 3 days and say, this is not for me. Perfect. I'd rather you find out in 3 days than 3 years. And other people come through the class, and they are just so excited they're already working on their first home before they even leave. So it's a very exciting process.
Definitely sound like something I really need to get more information and get into. It sounds very interesting and rewarding for a number of different reasons.
we should get you to one of our virtual trainings. That way you can participate virtually and don't even have to get in the plane and travel. And I'd love you to come as our guest if you'd like to. I'll let our team know, and we'll make that happen for you, Lamont.
Oh, definitely. I definitely love that, man. I love learning new things, and I'm a pretty quick learner. You know, I've learned how over the years, and I've learned how to turn my brain into sponge. Really, when it's something that I'm interested in, I absorb it all real quickly.
Love it.
So what's next in store for you, Gene? You've been around the world, and you've done a lot of different stuff. So what's next for you?
Well, you know, we just launched a new company called the Shared Housing Academy. And I was mentioning to you before, there's that caller with the person with special needs next door. We just had so many people come up to us during our training saying, can I use this information for, and then fill in the blank, my son with autism or a sober home or something else. And it could be foster kids that age out of the system. I mean, a lot of kids, they're foster kids, and age 18, the checks stop coming from the state and they get booted out. It's like they're not ready to move out on their own. So there's people that are, you know, justice involved. They're coming out of prison. They can't go home, or they need a place to be, or maybe they had a minor offense and the state is saying, we don't want them locked up here, but they need to be someplace safe where it's clean and sober. So you could have justice reformed homes, you could have addiction homes, you could have the special needs. So we created a whole new academy called the Shared Housing Academy just for that. And our instructors are incredible on that. I'm just so excited to be working with them. Hearts of Gold, they've already trained over 500 people over the last number of years how to do it. And we just had our first presentations and trainings last month. It went phenomenal. And we're so looking forward to just continuing to grow that and launch that this year. So that's what's new and exciting for me, for sure.
Wow. Yeah, you're a busy, busy man, so I understand why you can kind of take the day off, because you're busy doing everything else.
Yeah, you know how it is when I just turned 60, so I have no idea how old you are, Lamont, but by the time you get to be my age, you get to the point where it's like, wow, you're grinding, you're hustling, you're working. And I've done my all-nighters, I've done my 7-day a week, I've done my 20-hour days over and over and over, and it's wonderful going through it. It's inspiring, it's wonderful, it's all of that. But also you have to realize you got to enjoy the things you have, the people you're with, and you know, God gave us every day to work. He just said, just take one off and chill. So
I think that's the problem a lot of people have today. You know, a lot of people out there are basically workaholics. You know, they don't take time off. They grinding every day.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, I love the intention. But the way I fix that, by the way, because I am that way, some people would look at me and say workaholic is I enjoy everything I do. So, like, I'm going on a business trip to Key West in a week or so. So I'm going to bring my wife with me. We'll go a little early, and we'll do business, but we'll have a great time while we're there. So it mix the two.
I heard they have some great fishing in Key West, man. You need a stowaway in your luggage.
Maybe I will check on that, or I'll throw a line in from the shore on the sandy beach.
I don't think that'll help me a whole lot if I'm in California.
Well, California, you got some nice fishing too, but you're right, you got to get offshore.
Yeah, you're definitely right. But listen, everybody, if you joined the show late, you can definitely call in. The call-in number is 646-929-2870. Press number 1 on your phone. We'd love to have you join the conversation and answer whatever questions that you may have.
You know, one of the things, and I do want to make sure that anybody who wants to get a copy of that book that I offer, Blueprint, I've got a very simple website. If you'd like, Lamont, I'll give it to you, or you can put it in your show notes. They can just go and download the book.
Yeah, let them have it. You can tell them now.
3 letters, 3 numbers, RAL101.com. So residential assisted living, just 3 letters, RAL101.com. You can download the book for free. There's a webinar you can watch, and there's a phone number you can call if you want to talk to us.
Everybody should definitely be blowing up that phone number. Because most people, like I said, most people now they're working from home because of this thing that's going on. So they definitely have plenty of time to sit there and educate themselves. I just got a message, and someone is asking, how do customers pay? Are they funds strictly from private sources, or do they take Medicare or Medicaid?
So there's lots of different ways that you can get paid. We don't focus on the Medicare and Medicaid. The reason for that is for just assisted living, not a nursing home, just assisted living. The state, the federal government gives money to the state. The state will then create a program, and every state, California has theirs, and Arizona has theirs, and every state has their own. The total that they pay is about $2,000 a month. Now, that includes somebody's Social Security or pension plan or whatever income or assets they have. So maybe somebody's got $1,500 a month with their Social Security and a pension plan from their widowed spouse. So the state of California will say, well, we'll top it off with $500. So the total is $2,000. But if you remember earlier, I said the average in America today is $4,300. California, the average is $5,000 per person per month. So if somebody's only got $2,000, they're going to be in a very substandard place where there's crowded and bad food and not great care. And so we do it in a more of an upscale. We focus on private pay, families that can pay for their loved ones' care because they have the funds, or maybe mom or dad have more assets that can be liquidated and used. So we charge the average and above. Our sweet spot is kind of $4,000 to $8,000 per person per month, where Medicare and Medicaid is pretty much $2,000. That's right around where it is. Maybe a little more, maybe less, but not enough to make a profit and provide a great home with great food and great fun.
Okay. Well, definitely want to thank the people for typing in that question. That was a great one as well. Hold on, I think we have another. 710, you're on.
Yes, I have a question. Now, at these homes, are there recreational activities scheduled for the people who live there? Are they able to go into the kitchen and cook whatever they want, or are their meals already set? Are these people are they so independent that they're independent, but like you said, they cannot stay by themselves? Are they able to just go out, walk out, or do whatever they want to do?
So with the people that are in the assisted living homes, most of them are not independent enough to be preparing their own meals. And we want them to be free and have independence, but we don't want them to walk out the front door and down the street. They're typically not as mobile as that, number one. But number two, the caregivers who are there need to keep an eye on people, so they can't just be wandering off. So independence within the home, yes. Cooking their own meals, we'd love to have them help in some way, but the food is prepared for them and served to them. That's really the typical model. And we do have recreational activities. So glad you asked. We typically bring in outside contractors for that. So it might be musicians that come in and play, maybe pet therapy. So somebody brings in a small dog and they get a chance to interact with that pet for a while. It could be anything from movie night to audiobooks to art. But the recreation is important, and it is scheduled in our homes. That's a big part of what we do.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, thanks for your call. Gene, the other question I had, I don't know, I think you may have covered this already. How can an investor, entrepreneur best take advantage of this opportunity? I think you may have touched on it, but if you did not.
Sure. Let me be really specific on that. The first thing I think somebody should do if they're thinking on a business side of getting into this is learn as much as you can. Read the book I wrote, come to the class, but learn as much as you can and understand that there's two different opportunities. One is the real estate, so you can own it and lease it too. and the other is the business. And when I say the business, most times, Lamont, when people hear this, they're like, well, I don't want to be a caregiver. I can't be the manager. It's like, that's not the part I play. The business owner isn't there day to day taking care of the day-to-day things. There's a manager who's there. The manager in our case might be a caregiver, or they might just be the manager. But if a caregiver can't come in, the manager is going to find a replacement or fill it in themselves. I, as the owner, may go to the property once a month, maybe once a quarter. So it's not something that requires you to be hands-on all the time. You can if you want to, but I want to encourage you to open a second home, to use your energy for the business and open a second home, then open a third home, because the more of these homes you have, the better you'll do. The economies of scale, one manager can oversee all three. The caregivers could be shared between the homes. The economies of scale of buying products and services, it just helps all the way around. So if you're going to get in, just know that there's two plays, real estate and business. Learn everything you can before you decide which one you're going to get in. And then there's a third way, actually, which is just to be an investor. If somebody just wants to passively invest, just invest money into, there's places you can do that. And we even have a private equity fund for people that just want to participate that way. Or they may meet somebody in the class and say, well, I'll buy the real estate and you operate the business. We'll partner together.
Good information to know. Gene, we have another question that was typed in. Because of the kind of business this is, do they deal with outside inspections, and if so, how often?
Most states do have annual inspections. So that annual inspection, they're going to come, well, they used to come to the home. This day and age, a lot of times it's done on Zoom. But the annual inspection is where they come to the house, and the most important thing they're looking for is, are the seniors safe? That's really, truly it. They're gonna find that out by looking at the records that you keep. So it's inspected once a year. Now, if you have no violations, they call them deficiencies in the industry, but no violations, they may not inspect you the next year, and they'll skip a year and come 2 years. But usually it's an annual inspection, or unless there's some incident where they have to come out. But they're there to really, I just want everybody to hear that. They're not there to shut you down. They want to make sure you're doing it the right thing, taking care of those seniors. And if you're doing the right thing with the right intentions and keeping good records, they're on your side. They're there to help. But if you're not a good operator, they're going to either fix you or say you shouldn't be in this business.
Jay, when you say records, what does that include exactly? I mean, records of each individual client, and I mean, what is that involving? Yeah, each resident there's a binder. So when you come into the office, there would be a binder for each one of the residents. It would start with their care plan. So the care plan is from a doctor or a nurse that says, here's what they need. Here's the food they eat, the physical therapy they may need, or any of the care that is needed. So there's that part. There's the contact information for the family. There is the medication management. So there's a chart. If they're supposed to take some medication, here's where it was checked off that they did take it at the right time, and here's who gave it. So the records are all about that resident to make sure that everything is being done right. On the other hand, the employees, so the caregivers themselves, the managers, they have certain qualifications. So do they have their continuing education? Is it up to date? Have they had their TB test and their background check and all of those different things that they have to keep up every year as well, get inspected? So the records are two sides, the business operations and the employees, and then the residents and their care. Okay, that's good to know. Do your company partner up with private investors? The way we partner up is we opened a private equity fund, so it's called Round Box Equity. So in Round Box Equity, somebody could say, well, I will invest money into that fund, and then Round Box Equity funds different projects for the assisted living. So it's not really a partnership where you're saying you and I are partners, we own the real estate together, we operate the business together, we're 50-50. It's a fund where somebody would invest in, and then the managers of the fund would then choose the investments and take care of business from that level down. So the investors have really no input towards the business outside of putting up the money?
Correct. That would just be a passive investment. Now, if somebody wants to partner where they're saying, hey, I have the real estate or I have the money and I'm looking for the operator, we do have a platform that we have informally for some of our students, and we're going to formalize it coming up later this year, I think in the third quarter, where somebody can say, I'm interested in buying the real estate. And somebody else is saying, well, I'm interested in operating the business and potentially leasing the real estate. So they can partner up together informally. We'll kind of, here's a list of one and here's a list of the other. And those two who are on the list can look at the other side and raise their hand and have their conversation. So it's not a formal, we're putting them together as much as it is we're putting those investors, make them available to the people that need the home or the investment, and vice versa, so they can communicate and decide how they might want to partner together.
Right, I'm one of those crazy guys, man, always thinking outside the box for some reason. But I was thinking, if I seen a particular facility that I know, for instance, that you owned, and I had some money and I wanted to invest, and I approached you and say, Gene, I want to invest in this particular facility, I'm going to put my mother in there. I want my mother in this facility. But I'd feel a little bit more comfortable if I own a portion of that facility so I could have some say-so about how it's ran. How would you deal with things like that?
Well, that's possible, but it really depends. Like, for instance, if you were to buy stock in McDonald's, you do have ownership because stock is ownership in the company, but you're really not going to be able to walk in the front door of McDonald's and say, hey, I think you should put a little more lettuce on that burger. In a care, right? Even though you're a little bit of an owner. So in a care home, if you and I, let's just say it was you and I, this way others can understand it, but if we're you and I and we're both saying we're in this business together, then certainly you do have say. Certainly you can give your input. But there's a lot of people that don't want to have that. They just truly want to invest their money and not have any input. But in your case, you're saying because I want to make sure my mom is taken care of, you would want to have something that you're more involved in, that you do have some say, and certainly the ability to walk in the front door and at least visit your own mom, Yeah,
so I don't know, I just thought about that, because for me, I would want to have a little bit more say-so than the average person because that's my mom. But I understand if it's a corporation, it's totally different.
Well, that's the difference between passive and active. So passive, you're just writing a check and, God willing, receiving checks, right? Just you put money in and money comes out. And active is where you're more involved. And then the question is, how active? Do you want to just have a little bit of input so you're kind of on the board and you can give your suggestions once a month? Or do you want to be hands-on where you're actually, doing some painting for the nicks in the wall and choosing tile on a tile replacement? So just depends on how active you want to be.
That's true. Well, Gene, let me be nosy, man. Do you guys operate facilities all across the country, or are you just particularly just in Arizona?
With our homes that we started and owned and operated, they were all in Arizona. But now I invest in homes around the country where I'm that passive investor. If they ask me for an input, I'll give it to them, but I'm the passive investor in their projects. And, to kind of segue back to what somebody else said, some of those people are former students as well. So investing, because I trained them, I know what they know. They're doing a great job, and now they're on their next venture. And it's like, yes, I would love to be involved because I know the money is great. I know the cause and the purpose is great. But I'm very passive that way. So even though I say I'm involved in between 200 and 300 beds across the country, I don't know anything about the day-to-day, and I don't want to know anything about the day-to-day. I'm just a passive investor.
I was just finna ask you that, Gene. Did you care about the day-to-day, or are you past that part of your career? But from what I'm hearing you say, basically you are.
Yeah. Well, that's where you have to have trust. And, one of the things I always say is if you're going to invest in somebody else, whether you loan money to them or invest in their project, it's all about that person. It's not the project. We can problem, but it's the humans that are involved. So you got to trust. And if you don't, then don't invest. And if you do, then let them do their thing and trust them to do a great job.
Right. Man, you just said a mouthful right there, trust, because, boy, listen, nowadays, boy, trust is earned. It's not given. It's a little different.
Yeah.
The climate's a little different out there.
Well, and as it should be. I'm one of those people who I will always give somebody the benefit of the doubt, but it's also if you screwed me once, well, that's my fault. But if you did it twice, well, that's not a good thing, right? I shouldn't have done that.
That might be my fault too for letting you do it the second time.
Yeah. Learn my lesson once.
Yeah, that's for sure. That's for sure. Well, Gene, if you had a couple of things to tell our listeners to do and not to do, what would they be?
I always love to share this fact. I think everyone is going to get involved in assisted living one way or the other. It's either the business, the real estate, or both, or you or a family member is going to be lying in a bed writing a check to somebody who does. It's kind of inevitable. So since you're going to get involved, right now you have a choice. So decide how you want to get involved. I think also a lot of times people don't really take what I just said seriously until mom or dad had a fall, they're 85 years old, and somebody now has to make the decision, what are we going to do to take care of mom and dad? And that's a hard time to say, well, let's go learn how to do this thing and start a business from scratch. No, mom needs help right now. So if you heard what I said, you're going to get involved one way or the other and want to get involved in the business. I can show you how to do that, but that part's up to you. The other part, just to reframe what you just said, if you're going to invest in somebody else, make sure they're good at what they do, they're trustworthy, they've got a track record, and we can teach you and train you how to do that as well. Two is that, right now, I don't know what the weather is where you people are listening right now, but I'm here and the weather's beautiful. It's a gorgeous day. Yesterday was cold and windy, but it's a great time to just sit back and think, and to think about what we do and why we do it. I think a lot of times people go through life and they're just in a game and they don't even know that it's a game. They're in a race and they don't even know where the finish line is. It's like, why do you go to work? And what are you doing it for? And what's it all about? What's your purpose? And if you don't know what that is, sit under a tree with a pad of paper till you figure it out, because it just doesn't make any sense to just grind it out in life just to get to the end and then just lay down and go to sleep permanently. Do what you're doing for a reason. Find what you love and do that. And if you're looking for a way to help other people and make good money, well, assisted living may be just right for you. Wow.
Very, very positive thoughts, man. Very, very positive thoughts, because a lot of people right now sitting around getting the COVID belly.
Hey, if anybody lost 20 pounds, I found it, okay, just so you know.
Oh, no. Hey, man, look, you're too busy to have a COVID belly. What are you doing? That don't supposed to be you.
I actually was at a friend's house. They just stopped in. He said, "Hey, you're fat." And I'm like, "Hey, man, thank you very much for that. I appreciate your observance, so.
Hey, man, listen, all you got to do is just tell him COVID belly. You understand? It's not your fault. It's not your fault.
No, it is my fault. I enjoy myself way too much sometimes. It is my fault. I take full responsibility.
Oh, okay. Well, look, as long as you know what you're doing and you're doing it on purpose, but I can't say that. Because calling my oatmeal raisin, they call my name when they shouldn't be.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, well, Gene, listen, we're down to the last few minutes, so, man, listen, tell everybody where they could go get in touch with you, how they can get in touch with you, and all that stuff.
Sure. Yeah, so I want to encourage you, if you really do want to learn a little bit more about assisted living, go to RAL101.com. So residentialassistedliving101.com, just 3 letters, RAL101. And also I mentioned the shared housing. So if you want to learn more about that, I know we have a webinar coming up. Go to Shared Housing Academy. I had to make sure I got it right. SharedHousingAcademy.com. I got to come up with a shorter website for that, but there it is right now, SharedHousingAcademy.com. And if you just want to call and talk to somebody about it, you can call 480 480-704-3065. 480-704-3065.
Gene, do you tour? I mean, do you go out to different states?
With all of last year, we were gung-ho for the first quarter, and then it quieted down. So my tour has been a lot more sporadic. But so far this year, I've been in Florida and Branson, Missouri. I'm going to be back in Florida. I'll be in Texas in a week or so. So I am out speaking, but not nearly as much as I was before. I won't hit 50 cities this year.
I don't think anybody's going to hit 50 cities this year unless it's virtual.
Well, that we're doing, and what a cool thing that came out of 2020. I mean, it was supposed to be the year of clearer vision. I don't know if you heard people talking about that theme, the year of clearer vision, and really what it turned out to was the year of innovation, trying to figure out a new way to do things. And I know for us, it was an incredible year. It's the best year we've ever had. And part of that is because when it comes to the specifically assisted living, people are figuring out smaller is better. The big box facilities are saying, wow, we got to get small and keep these seniors safe. And that's where we've been. So it's been growing. And with the Shared Housing Academy and some other things we're doing as well. But it was a great year. And this year is also, it's a record-breaking year once again. So it's going great. And we do some live events. We just had one last weekend. Our next one's coming up in a few weeks. So we do live in-person events. We also do virtual events. So we're doing them both. And the innovation is a key to being alive. So there it is.
Well, I know it's a challenge for a lot of senior citizens that aren't computer literate. I know they're catching the blues.
Yeah. No, I feel sorry for people who are sequestered into their location, whether it's by choice or, the elderly in these large facilities. It breaks my heart to think about that, to see that, to hear those stories. I know in our homes they're a lot more free and they're a lot more life as usual in these smaller care homes. But I think anybody, I was thinking about this today is Sunday, so I'll go ahead and say it. Just coming back from church, great message. And really, life is a choice. And we can either live in fear or we can live in full confidence to know that God's got our back. He's got it all planned. And, I've met too many people who were totally physically fit and nothing wrong, and boom, they're dead. And others who are just faithful and live a lot longer and die a peaceful life. So, it's just you decide, but living in fear is not a good way to live. Have faith in God. He's going to take care.
Absolutely. Well, sir, I thank you so much for joining us and taking time out, man. You had a definitely wonderful message, and I'm sure our listeners are going to be getting in touch with me or you, and I definitely appreciate you again, man. It was fantastic. Time really does fly when you're having fun learning stuff.
Thank you so much for having me on, and I was serious, though. If you want to come yourself personally, if you'd like to come to one of our virtual trainings, please reach out to our team, and I'll make that happen for you.
Well, start making it happen, sir, because I'm there.
Cool. Love it.
And thank you so much for the opportunity, man, and we'll be in touch soon. Thank you so much. And for you listeners that joined the show a little bit late, if you're having problems finding the show, there's no excuse. Ask your mama, ask your daddy, ask your neighbor across the street, a guy at the gas station, or your milkman. Somebody will tell you how to hear the show. It's available worldwide on every platform, so you have no excuse. And tell them I said it. And thank you so much for listening. We'll be back next Sunday at the same time. And definitely thank our guest, Gene Garano. Appreciate you much. Be safe out there. And we'll see you guys next week. Take care.
God is good.
Yeah. If it had not been for the Lord on my side, walk me through. Any toil, snare, trap. Well, that is what I tell them when they ask me how I'm living. God is good, and He's willing to help a brother out. No doubt, I lost my grip. Yeah, I'm about to trip. I'm about to step. Giving up for them. My own mama didn't know me. Devil had control of me. He had the soul of me, and so I saw the light from above. Felt the love, the power of He who was there from the very beginning, the everlasting, the never ending. now.